She was hired to be his fake girlfriend, but the AI had other plans. Before we begin, drop a comment telling us what city you're watching from. And don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10 when we're done. Enjoy the story. Maya Chen stared at her laptop screen in her cramped San Francisco studio apartment, the glow illuminating the stack of overdue bills beside her. The email had appeared in her inbox like a digital lifeline. Urgent, personal assistant required. $10,000 per week. Immediate start. Technova Industries. Confidential role. $10,000 a week. Maya rubbed her tired eyes and read it again. That was more money than she made in 3 months managing social media for a failing startup that couldn't even afford toilet paper for the office bathroom. Her phone buzzed with another collection notice. Her rent, $2,847 overdue. Student loans, $1,200 past due. Her mother's cancer treatment bills, $8,500 and climbing. Maya had graduated top of her class from Berkeley with a marketing degree. But in San Francisco's brutal job market, that meant nothing without connections she didn't have, or wealth she'd never possessed. "What have I got to lose?" she whispered, clicking the application link. 24 hours later, Maya stood in the gleaming lobby of Technova Industries, a 50-story glass monument to Silicon Valley success. Everything was white marble, chrome fixtures, and digital displays showing stock prices that moved faster than her heartbeat. She clutched her resume, printed on regular paper from Kinko's, feeling like an imposter in her department store blazer among people wearing clothes that cost more than her monthly rent. Maya Chen? A woman in a perfectly tailored Armani suit approached her. "I'm Jennifer Walsh, Mr. Blackwood's executive assistant. He's ready to see you now." The elevator climbed silently to the 48th floor, where the doors opened to reveal the most incredible office Maya had ever seen. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the entire Bay Area. In the center sat a curved desk with 6 monitors, cables snaking everywhere, and a man typing on 3 keyboards simultaneously. Ethan Blackwood looked up, and Maya's breath caught. He was nothing like she'd expected. Where she'd imagined an older, balding tech bro, she found a devastatingly handsome man who couldn't be older than 30. Sharp green eyes, perfectly sculpted jawline, dark hair that looked effortlessly styled, but probably cost $300 to maintain. He wore designer jeans and a black t-shirt that fit his athletic frame like it had been tailored specifically for him. "Maya Chen," he said, standing up. At 6 feet 3 inches, he towered over her, radiating the kind of confidence that came from never doubting you belonged in any room. "Thank you for coming." "Thank you for considering me, Mr. Blackwood." "Ethan, please, sit." He gestured to a chair that probably cost more than her car. "I'll be direct. This isn't exactly a personal assistant position." Maya's heart sank. Another too-good-to-be-true opportunity about to evaporate. "The job is unconventional," Ethan continued, studying her with an intensity that made her feel like he was reading code. "I need someone to pose as my girlfriend for 8 weeks. Maya blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "My company has developed a revolutionary dating app called SoulSync. It uses advanced artificial intelligence to analyze compatibility based on thousands of data points, conversation patterns, micro-expressions, even breathing rates during video calls." That sounds invasive. It's the future of dating. But my investors are skeptical about taking romantic advice from a CEO who's been single for 3 years and whose last relationship ended when his fiancée left him for his business rival. Maya tried to process this. "So you want to hire a fake girlfriend to convince your investors you understand love?" "Exactly. You'd attend 4 investor dinners with me, be photographed at several public events, and help me appear more relatable." He named a figure that made Maya's eyes widen. $75,000 for 8 weeks of work. Maya's mind raced. $75,000 would solve every financial problem she had, pay for her mother's treatment, and give her enough cushion to pursue her dreams instead of just surviving. What would I have to do exactly? Act like you're madly in love with me. Learn enough about my life to convince people we've been together for 6 months. Attend social events and be charming. Ethan leaned back in his chair. Think of it as method acting with excellent compensation. And that's it? No. Other expectations? This is strictly professional, Ethan said firmly. You'd have your own luxury apartment, your own driver, your own credit card for clothes and expenses. We'd only be together in public. Maya looked around the impossibly luxurious office, then at Ethan's perfect face. He was offering her more money than most people made in a year to pretend to date one of the most eligible bachelors in tech. It should have been easy money. So why did every instinct tell her this was dangerous? I'll need to know more about you, Maya said carefully. If I'm going to convince people I'm your girlfriend, I should actually know who you are. Something flickered across Ethan's face. Surprise, maybe even respect. Fair point. What do you want to know? Let's start with why you've been single for 3 years. Ethan's expression hardened. That's not relevant to the arrangement. It is if your investors are going to ask me about it. They stared at each other for a long moment. Maya could practically see him calculating, weighing what he was willing to reveal. I don't have time for relationships, he said finally. Building Technova from nothing to a billion-dollar valuation required complete focus. Romance is inefficient. Inefficient. Relationships are unpredictable. They're based on emotions which are inherently irrational and impossible to optimize. I prefer systems I can understand and control. Maya tilted her head, studying him. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Ethan's eyes flashed. Sad? I've built a billion-dollar company by the age of 29. I have 3 houses, a collection of supercars, and influence over technologies that will reshape how humans connect. I'd hardly call that sad. You've built a company, but what kind of life have you built? The question hung in the air between them. For a moment, Ethan looked almost vulnerable. Then his walls slammed back up. Do you want the job or not, Ms. Chen? Maya thought about her mother's medical bills, her crushing student debt, the dreams she'd put on hold because she couldn't afford to chase them. I'll do it, she said, but I have conditions. Ethan raised an eyebrow. You're negotiating? I want a contract that specifies exactly what this arrangement includes and what it doesn't. I want approval over any public appearances. And I want to be involved in creating my backstory. Done. Ethan stood up and extended his hand. Welcome to the team, Maya Chen. As Maya shook his hand, she felt a strange electric current run up her arm. Ethan must have felt it too because he held her gaze a moment longer than necessary. When do we start? Maya asked. Tonight. I hope you have something suitable to wear to the saint, Regis. Maya looked down at her target dress and payless shoes. I'll figure something out. Jennifer will take you shopping, Ethan said, already turning back to his wall of monitors. Spend whatever you need. You're representing Technova now. As Maya left the office, her head spinning with the sudden change in her fortunes, she didn't notice Ethan watching her through his smart glass windows. And she definitely didn't notice him opening the SoulSync app on his phone and, almost unconsciously, beginning to create a profile for someone who looked exactly like her. 4 hours later, Maya stood in the private shopping suite at Neiman Marcus, wearing a midnight blue cocktail dress that cost more than she used to make in a month. You look absolutely stunning, Jennifer said, adjusting the neckline of the silk designer creation. Ethan's going to be speechless. It's just an act, Maya reminded herself aloud, staring at her reflection in the three-way mirror. But as she looked at herself, hair styled by a professional colorist who'd added subtle highlights she couldn't afford, makeup applied by an artist who worked with celebrities, wearing clothes that made her feel like a different person, Maya wondered if she was trying to convince Jennifer or herself. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. "Car will pick you up at 7. Story. We've been dating for 6 months. You're a freelance marketing consultant. We met when you accidentally walked into my office looking for the Uber elevator." Maya typed back. "Got it. What's your favorite color?" A long pause, then, "Why does that matter?" "Because if someone asks me what my boyfriend's favorite color is and I don't know, they'll know we're faking." Another pause. "Deep blue, like the ocean during a storm." Maya smiled despite herself. Deep blue like the ocean during a storm. That was unexpectedly poetic for someone who claimed emotions were inefficient. Her phone buzzed again. "What's yours?" Maya looked at herself in the midnight blue dress, feeling like she was becoming someone new. "Currently, I'm not sure anymore." The St. Regis Ballroom was a cathedral of wealth and power. Crystal chandeliers that cost more than houses, tech executives worth hundreds of millions, and venture capitalists who could fund or destroy dreams with a single conversation. Maya felt like she was entering a different species territory as Ethan guided her through the crowd, his hand resting possessively on the small of her back. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit that probably cost more than she used to make in 6 months, and together they looked like they belonged on the cover of Forbes. "There's Harrison Phillips," Ethan murmured in her ear, nodding toward a distinguished silver-haired man surrounded by admirers. "He's the lead investor I need to convince. Make this believable." Maya nodded and slipped her arm through Ethan's, surprised by how solid and warm he felt, how natural the gesture seemed. "Ethan!" Harrison approached with the confident smile of someone who'd never doubted his place in the world. "And this must be the famous girlfriend we've heard so much about." "Harrison, I'd like you to meet Maya Chen," Ethan said smoothly. "Maya, this is Harrison Phillips from Quantum Ventures." Maya extended her hand with a bright smile that felt surprisingly genuine. "It's so wonderful to finally meet you. Ethan talks about you constantly." "All good things, I hope," Harrison chuckled, then turned to Ethan with obvious curiosity. "So tell me, how did you two lovebirds meet?" Maya jumped in before Ethan could respond. "Actually, it's kind of embarrassing. I was running late for a meeting and got lost in Technova's building. I burst into what I thought was the elevator, but it was actually Ethan's office." "She was completely flustered, talking a mile a minute about being late," Ethan added, and Maya was surprised to hear genuine amusement in his voice. "I was in the middle of a video conference with Tokyo, and she just stood there apologizing profusely while still holding her coffee and trying to back out. I knocked over his plant trying to escape," Maya laughed. "A $200 orchid. I was mortified." "I was charmed," Ethan said, looking at her with what appeared to be genuine affection. Here was this beautiful, brilliant woman who was so focused on not being late that she'd accidentally invaded my office. And instead of being intimidated, she offered to buy me a new plant with money she clearly couldn't afford. Harrison was clearly enchanted. "And how long have you been together?" 6 months, they said simultaneously, then looked at each other with what appeared to be natural chemistry. Maya felt a strange flutter in her stomach when Ethan smiled at her. It wasn't the calculated smile she'd seen in his office. This one was softer, more real. "You two seem very much in love," Harrison observed. "We are," Maya said, meaning it more than she expected to. "Ethan's nothing like what I thought he'd be when I first met him." "What did you think he'd be?" Harrison asked. Maya glanced at Ethan, seeing curiosity in his green eyes. "Honestly, I thought he'd be cold, calculating, maybe a little arrogant. You know, typical tech CEO stereotype. And now? Maya looked at Ethan again, studying his face. Now I know he's just scared of letting people see who he really is. The words came out before Maya could stop them, and she saw Ethan's expression shift, surprise, then something that looked almost like gratitude. Well, Harrison said, clearly pleased, it's obvious you bring out the best in each other. Ethan, I have to say, this relationship seems to have given you a perspective on human connection that I think will serve SoulSync extremely well. As Harrison moved on to greet other guests, Ethan turned to Maya with an unreadable expression. That was incredible improvisation, he said quietly. Was it improvisation? Maya asked, then immediately wished she hadn't. Before Ethan could answer, a woman approached them, tall, elegant, with platinum blonde hair and the kind of beauty that came from excellent genetics and unlimited budgets. Ethan Blackwood, she said in a cultured voice that dripped old money. I was hoping I'd see you here. Ethan's entire body tensed. Victoria. Maya felt the change in him immediately. The way his shoulders straightened, how his hand on her back became more possessive. Aren't you going to introduce me to your friend? Victoria's gaze swept over Maya with barely concealed disdain. Victoria Ashford, this is Maya Chen, my girlfriend, Ethan said, emphasis on the last word. Victoria's smile was razor sharp. How delightful. I'm Victoria Ashford, Ethan's ex-fiancée. Maya felt like she'd been slapped. Ex-fiancé? That was definitely not in the briefing materials. Former fiancé, Ethan corrected coldly. Such a technicality, Victoria laughed. We were engaged for 2 years, Maya. Did Ethan tell you why we broke up? Maya looked between them, feeling like she was watching a tennis match where she didn't know the rules. Victoria, Ethan's voice held a warning. I left him, Victoria continued, ignoring Ethan's tone, because he was more interested in his algorithms than in me. I told him he'd never be capable of a real relationship, that he'd never understand what love actually means. Maya felt anger rising in her chest, not just for herself, but for Ethan. Then you obviously didn't know him very well. Victoria raised a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. Oh? And you do? I know he's brilliant, Maya said, stepping closer to Ethan. I know he's building something that could revolutionize how people find genuine connection. And I know that anyone who thinks technical brilliance and emotional intelligence are mutually exclusive probably wasn't worth his time to begin with. Ethan stared at Maya in obvious shock. Victoria's confident smile faltered. How refreshing, Victoria said finally. Well, I hope you last longer than I did, darling. She turned to Ethan. Good luck with your little app, Ethan. You'll need all the help you can get. As Victoria walked away on her designer heels, Maya realized her heart was pounding. She'd just defended a man she barely knew against a woman she'd never met, and she'd meant every single word. You didn't have to do that, Ethan said quietly. Yes, I did, Maya replied. She was wrong about you. How do you know? You've known me for exactly 8 hours. Maya turned to face him fully. Because in 8 hours, you've been more genuine with me than she probably ever was with you. They stood there for a moment, something shifting between them. Maya could feel the fake beginning to blur with something that might be real. Maya, Ethan started, then stopped. Would you like to get some air? They stepped onto the hotel's rooftop terrace, the San Francisco skyline twinkling like a circuit board beneath them. The night air was cool, and Maya shivered slightly in her designer dress. Without a word, Ethan shrugged out of his jacket and draped it around her shoulders. The gesture was so natural, so protective, that Maya felt her carefully constructed walls begin to crack. Thank you, she said softly. For the jacket? For tonight. For trusting me to do this. Ethan leaned against the railing, looking out at the city he'd helped shape. You were incredible in there. Harrison was completely charmed, and Victoria... He shook his head. No one's ever defended me like that before. She was being cruel. She was being honest. I wasn't a good fiancé. I was exactly what she said, more interested in optimizing systems than in understanding her. Maya studied his profile in the moonlight. Why did you propose to her? Because it seemed like the logical next step. We'd been dating for the statistically appropriate amount of time. Our social circles overlapped efficiently. Our career goals were compatible. Ethan's mouth twisted ruefully. I treated it like a merger and acquisition. That's terrible. It was practical. It was heartbreaking, Maya said gently. Both of you deserve better than that. Ethan turned to look at her, something vulnerable flickering in his eyes. What about you? Ever been in love? Maya hesitated. Once. I thought I was, anyway. Turned out he was more interested in what I could do for his startup than in me as a person. I'm sorry. It's okay. It taught me that love shouldn't be transactional. Maya paused, looking out at the glittering city. Even fake love. They looked at each other, and Maya felt that strange electric current again. For a moment, she forgot this was all an elaborate performance. We should go back in, Ethan said, but he didn't move. We should, Maya agreed, also not moving. Ethan's phone buzzed, breaking the spell. He glanced at it and frowned. What is it? Maya asked. Nothing. Just the SoulSync algorithm sent me a notification. What kind of notification? Ethan looked embarrassed. It says it found my perfect match. Maya laughed, the sound echoing across the rooftop. Your own app is trying to set you up? That's either ironic or poetic. I can't decide which. Probably ironic, Ethan said, but he was looking at Maya with an odd expression. Maya, can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you really take this job? And don't just say the money. I mean, obviously the money is part of it, but... Maya considered lying, giving him some easy answer. Instead, she found herself telling the truth. Because my whole life, I've played it safe. I've taken the sensible jobs, dated the practical guys, made the responsible choices. And where has it gotten me? Broke, lonely, and wondering if I'm going to spend my entire life watching other people take risks while I stand on the sidelines. And this feels like a risk? This feels like the most impractical thing I've ever done in my life, Maya admitted, which is probably why I said yes. Ethan smiled, not his calculated business smile, but something genuine and warm. I'm glad you did. As they walked back into the ballroom, Maya caught her reflection in the glass doors. For the first time in years, she looked like someone who was living instead of just surviving. What she didn't see was Ethan glancing at his phone one more time, staring at the profile photo of his perfect match, a photo that looked exactly like the woman walking beside him. The next morning, Maya woke up in the most luxurious apartment she'd ever seen. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Golden Gate Bridge. The kitchen had appliances that looked like they belonged on a spaceship, and the bed was so comfortable she'd slept better than she had in months. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. Good morning. Hope you slept well. Team meeting at 10 a.m. Want to see SoulSync in action? Maya smiled as she typed back. Looking forward to it. Should I bring anything? Just your brilliant mind. See you soon. An hour later, Maya walked into Technova's development floor, where dozens of programmers hunched over multiple monitors, lines of code streaming across their screens like digital waterfalls. The energy was electric, brilliant minds solving complex problems, creating technologies that would shape the future. Impressive, isn't it? Ethan appeared beside her, holding 2 cups of artisanal coffee. "Welcome to where the magic happens." "It's incredible," Maya said, accepting the coffee gratefully. "I had no idea this kind of development was so complex. Most people don't. They think apps just materialize out of thin air." Ethan guided her toward a conference room where several team members were already gathered. SoulSync is different from other dating platforms because it doesn't just look at superficial compatibility markers. It analyzes communication patterns, response times, micro-expressions during video calls, even breathing patterns. "That's kind of terrifying," Maya said. "Why terrifying?" "Because what if the algorithm knows you better than you know yourself?" Ethan paused, giving her a sharp look. "What do you mean?" "Well, if it's analyzing all these subconscious behaviors, it might detect things you're not consciously aware of. Preferences you didn't know you had. Compatibility with people you might never have considered. That's the point. Human conscious decision-making in dating is notoriously flawed. But what if the algorithm is right about something you're not ready to accept?" Before Ethan could respond, they entered the conference room where his team was waiting. "Everyone, I'd like you to meet Maya Chen," Ethan announced. "She's consulting with us on user experience and will be helping us understand how authentic couples interact." A young woman with purple hair and thick-rimmed glasses looked up from her laptop excitedly. "Maya, I'm Sam, lead developer. Are you the one who's been beta testing the platform?" Maya looked at Ethan in confusion. "Beta testing?" "I may have created a test profile," Ethan said carefully, "for research purposes." "Using my information?" Maya's voice rose slightly. "Basic demographic data only," Ethan said quickly. "Nothing invasive." Sam was oblivious to the tension, her excitement bubbling over. The results were absolutely fascinating. The algorithm detected compatibility patterns we'd never seen before. Your communication styles complement each other perfectly. Your response times indicate similar emotional processing speeds. And your micro-expressions during video analysis showed incredible synchronization. Maya stared at Ethan. "You ran me through your dating algorithm? It was purely scientific? Without my permission?" "Maya," Ethan started, but she was already standing up. "Excuse me," she said to the room. "I need some air." Maya strode out of the conference room, Ethan following close behind. "Maya, wait!" She spun around to face him in the hallway, her eyes flashing with anger. "You put me in your system like some kind of lab rat?" "It wasn't like that. I was curious about how the algorithm would analyze our interaction patterns. Our fake interaction patterns." "That's just it," Ethan said, running a hand through his hair. "According to the algorithm, there's nothing fake about our compatibility." Maya felt her anger falter. "What do you mean?" "The system can detect when people are performing versus when they're being genuine. With us, it's reading authentic compatibility markers." "That's impossible. We're acting." "Are we?" Ethan stepped closer. "Last night on the terrace, when you defended me to Victoria, when we talked about our past relationships, was that acting?" Maya opened her mouth to say yes, then closed it. Because the truth was she hadn't been acting. She'd been more herself with Ethan than she'd been with anyone in years. "This is insane," she said finally. "Maybe. But Maya, what if the algorithm is right? What if there's something real here? Ethan, this is exactly what Victoria was talking about. You're treating human emotion like it's data to be analyzed." "No, I'm not. I'm saying maybe the data is revealing something we're afraid to admit to ourselves." Maya looked at him, really looked at him. His perfectly styled hair was messy from running his hands through it. His usually composed expression was vulnerable, almost pleading. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that maybe I hired you because I was already attracted to you. Maybe the whole fake girlfriend arrangement was just an excuse to spend time with you. Ethan. And maybe you said yes not just because of the money, but because you felt something too. Maya's heart was pounding. This is supposed to be fake. I know. But what if it doesn't have to be? Before Maya could respond, Sam burst into the hallway, laptop in hand, practically vibrating with excitement. Sorry to interrupt, but you guys need to see this. The algorithm just updated Maya's compatibility score. Sam, not now, Ethan said. No, this is unprecedented. Look. Sam held up her laptop, showing a screen full of graphs and percentages. Your compatibility rating just jumped to 97.8%. That's the highest score the algorithm has ever calculated. Maya stared at the screen. What does that mean? It means, Sam said breathlessly, that based on your current interaction patterns, body language, vocal tone analysis, and emotional response metrics, you two are statistically perfect for each other. Maya felt like the world was tilting. But we were just arguing. That's what makes it so incredible. The algorithm detected that even your conflict patterns are compatible. You argue constructively, you listen to each other, and your stress responses actually balance rather than escalate each other's. Ethan was staring at the screen in shock. That can't be accurate. I've run the analysis 4 times, Sam said. The data doesn't lie. You two have the most compatible psychological and emotional profiles the algorithm has ever processed. Maya looked between the screen and Ethan's face. So what you're telling me is that your artificial intelligence thinks we're soulmates? According to every metric we measure, yes. Based on 2 days of knowing each other? Based on thousands of micro-interactions, vocal pattern analysis, facial recognition data, and behavioral compatibility markers, Sam corrected. The algorithm processes more information in an hour than human consciousness processes in months. Maya felt overwhelmed. I need to think about this. Maya, Ethan called as she walked toward the elevator. She turned back. Yeah? For what it's worth, I think the algorithm might be onto something. As the elevator doors closed, Maya caught a glimpse of Ethan's expression, hopeful, vulnerable, and completely unlike the calculating businessman she'd met 2 days ago. 20 minutes later, Maya was sitting in a small coffee shop, staring at her phone. She'd Googled Soul Sync and found dozens of articles about its revolutionary approach to matchmaking. In beta testing, the app had a 96% success rate for long-term relationships, higher than any dating platform in history. But that was for people who chose to be matched. She and Ethan hadn't chosen anything. They'd been thrown together by circumstance and money, then analyzed by an algorithm that claimed to know them better than they knew themselves. Her phone rang. Her best friend Jessica. Hey, Jess. Maya, how's the mysterious high-paying job going? Maya had told Jessica she was working as a marketing consultant for a tech company, but not the details. It's complicated. Good complicated or bad complicated? Maya watched the rain streak down the coffee shop window. I honestly don't know. Okay, spill. What's really going on? Maya found herself telling Jessica everything. The fake girlfriend arrangement, the investor dinner, meeting Victoria, the algorithm's analysis of their compatibility. Wait, Jessica interrupted. So this billionaire tech genius hired you to be his fake girlfriend, but his own dating app is telling him you're actually perfect for each other. That's the situation, yes? Maya, that's either the most romantic thing I've ever heard or the beginning of a very weird episode of Black Mirror. I'm leaning toward Black Mirror. Why? What's so terrifying about a gorgeous, successful man potentially being perfect for you? Because it's not real, Jess. The algorithm is basing its analysis on fake interactions. We're playing roles. Are you, though? Because from what you've told me, it sounds like you were more yourself last night than you've been in years. Maya considered this. Maybe. And how do you feel about him? Maya closed her eyes. That's the problem. I think I'm starting to actually fall for him. So what's the issue? The issue is that I don't know if I like him or if I like the fantasy. The money, the lifestyle, the idea of being chosen by someone like that. Maya, you're overthinking this. Am I? Or am I finally thinking clearly? What happens when the 8 weeks are over? Do I go back to my regular life while he moves on to the next arrangement? Maybe you're asking the wrong questions. What do you mean? Instead of worrying about what happens in 8 weeks, why don't you focus on what you want to happen right now? Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. Can we talk? I think I owe you an explanation about everything, and about why I really hired you. Maya stared at the message. Jess, I have to go. Maya? Yeah. For what it's worth, I think you should give this a chance. Real or fake, you sound happier than you've been in months. Maya found Ethan waiting for her in the Technova lobby, looking uncharacteristically nervous. He'd changed out of his usual jeans and designer t-shirt into a gray sweater that made his green eyes even more striking. Thank you for coming, he said as she approached. You said you had an explanation. I do, but not here. Ethan gestured toward the exit. Would you take a walk with me? They stepped out into the San Francisco afternoon, the earlier rain having given way to weak sunshine. Ethan led her toward Crissy Field, where they could see the Golden Gate Bridge stretching majestically across the bay. Victoria was right about one thing, he said as they walked along the waterfront path. I was a terrible fiancé. Ethan, you don't owe me. Yes, I do. Because you defended me last night and you did it based on incomplete information. They found a bench overlooking the bay, where sailboats dotted the water like white butterflies. I proposed to Victoria because I thought love was supposed to be logical, Ethan continued. We looked compatible on every measurable metric. Same social circle, similar career trajectories, complementary personality profiles according to every test I could find. What happened? I realized I was in love with the idea of her. Not with her as a person, and she realized she was in love with the idea of who I could become, not who I actually was. Ethan picked up a pebble and skipped it across the water. We spent 2 years trying to optimize each other into people we could actually love. That sounds exhausting. It was. When she finally left, I was almost relieved. Ethan looked at Maya. That's when I decided emotions were too unpredictable, too inefficient. It was safer to focus on work. And then you built a dating app? Ethan laughed ruefully. The irony wasn't lost on me. But I thought if I could reduce love to algorithms and data points, maybe I could understand it without having to risk experiencing it. But that's not how love works. No, Ethan agreed. It's not. Which brings me to the real reason I hired you. Maya felt her heart speed up. What do you mean? The day you came for the interview, something about you made me remember what it felt like to be curious about another person. Not analytically curious, but genuinely interested in who you were, what you thought, how you saw the world. Ethan. I told myself it was just physical attraction, that it would pass. But then you questioned my hiring practices and looked at me like I was just some privileged guy making questionable decisions instead of Ethan Blackwood, CEO. He turned to face her fully. Do you know how long it's been since someone looked at me like I was just a person? Maya felt something shifting in her chest. So you decided to hire me? I decided I wanted to know you better. The fake girlfriend arrangement was just an excuse to spend time with you without having to admit that I was interested. That's manipulative. It is, Ethan agreed. And I'm sorry. But Maya, last night when we were talking on the terrace, when you told me about your past relationship, when you defended me to Victoria. None of that was fake for me." Maya stared at the sailboats, trying to process what he was telling her. "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe the algorithm is right. Maybe we are compatible. And maybe we should find out." "How?" "By being real with each other. No more fake girlfriend contract. No more performance for investors. Just you and me, figuring out if there's something here worth exploring." Maya felt torn between excitement and terror. "What about the investors? Your app launch?" "Harrison was already convinced last night. The other investors will follow his lead. I don't need a fake girlfriend anymore, Maya. But I'd like to see if you'd be interested in being my real girlfriend." The words hung in the air between them. Maya could feel herself standing at a crossroads. She could walk away, take her money, and go back to her safe, predictable life. Or she could take a chance on something that felt dangerous and unpredictable and more real than anything she'd experienced in years. "What if the algorithm is wrong?" she asked finally. "Then we figure it out together. What if we're just caught up in the fantasy of it all? Then we take time to separate fantasy from reality. What if I break your heart?" Ethan smiled. "What if you don't?" Maya looked at him, really looked at him. The perfectly styled hair, the expensive clothes, the confident posture. But underneath all that, she saw something else. A man who was just as scared and uncertain as she was, but brave enough to take a chance anyway. "Okay," she said finally. "Okay? Let's see if your algorithm knows what it's talking about." Ethan's smile was like sunrise. "Really?" "Really, but I have conditions." "Name them." "No more analyzing me without permission. No more algorithms rating our compatibility unless we both agree. And if we're going to do this, we do it at normal people speed." "What's normal people speed?" "Dates that don't cost more than my rent used to be. Conversations that aren't about business strategies. Time to actually get to know each other without the pressure of proving anything to anyone." Ethan nodded eagerly. "I can do that. And one more thing. Anything. I keep my own apartment. If this is going to be real, I need to maintain my independence." "Done." Ethan stood up and extended his hand. "So Maya Chen, would you like to go on a real first date with me?" Maya took his hand, feeling that electric current again. This time she didn't try to ignore it. "What did you have in mind? How do you feel about mini-golf?" Maya burst out laughing. "Mini-golf?" It seemed appropriately normal people-ish. "Ethan Blackwood, I think this is going to be very interesting." As they walked back toward the street, Maya's phone buzzed with a notification. She glanced at it and stopped walking. "What is it?" Ethan asked. Maya showed him her screen. It was a notification from the SoulSync app. Apparently, she now had a profile, and the algorithm had just sent her a match notification. "Congratulations," the notification read. "We found your perfect match. 99.2% compatibility detected." Maya clicked on the profile, and Ethan's photo appeared on her screen. 99.2%? Maya raised an eyebrow. "Your score went up." Ethan looked embarrassed. "I may have had the team refine the algorithm this afternoon." "Based on what data?" "Based on how I felt when you walked out of that conference room, and I thought I might have lost you before I even had a chance to really know you." Maya stared at him. "You updated a billion-dollar algorithm based on your feelings?" "I updated it based on the realization that all the data in the world doesn't mean anything if you're not willing to be vulnerable enough to let someone in." Maya felt her heart do something complicated in her chest. "That might be the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me." "Really? Because I was going for scientifically accurate." Maya laughed, and Ethan's answering smile was soft and genuine, and completely unlike the calculating expression she'd first seen in his office. Come on, she said, tugging his hand. Let's go see if you're as good at mini golf as you are at artificial intelligence. I should probably warn you, I'm extremely competitive. Good, Maya grinned. So am I. 3 hours later, Maya was doubled over with laughter as Ethan retrieved his golf ball from a miniature windmill for the 4th time. This is clearly rigged, he declared, examining the tiny club like it had personally offended him. The physics don't make sense. Or you're just terrible at mini golf, Maya said, easily sinking her ball through the windmill's opening with a perfect arc. I built a billion-dollar company using complex algorithms and predictive modeling. I should be able to master a simple problem involving angles and momentum. Maybe that's your problem. You're overthinking it. Maya lined up her next shot at the castle hole. Sometimes you just have to feel it instead of calculating it. She made the shot perfectly, and Ethan stared at her with something that looked like wonder. What? Maya asked. Nothing. It's just, you're full of surprises. Good surprises or bad surprises? The best kind. They were on the 18th hole, an elaborate pirate ship setup with multiple levels and moving obstacles, when Maya's phone rang. Sorry, she said, glancing at the screen. It's my mom. I should take this. Of course. Maya walked a few steps away. Hi, Mom. Maya, how's the new job going? Maya glanced back at Ethan, who was studying the mini-golf pirate ship with the same intensity he probably brought to board meetings. It's complicated. Good complicated or bad complicated? I'm starting to think there might not be a difference. Maya lowered her voice. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course, sweetheart. How did you know Dad was the one? Her mother was quiet for a moment. That's a big question, honey. Why do you ask? I met someone, and it's all happening very fast, and I don't know if I can trust my own judgment. What does your gut tell you? Maya watched Ethan attempt to calculate the perfect angle for his shot. His brow furrowed in concentration. My gut says he's nothing like anyone I've ever met, and that terrifies me. Good scared or bad scared? I don't know yet. Maya, do you remember what I told you when you started college? That I was too practical for my own good? I told you that someday you'd meet someone who would make you want to be brave. Someone who would make all your careful planning seem less important than just jumping. Maya felt tears sting her eyes. What if I jump and fall? What if you jump and fly? After Maya hung up, she found Ethan sitting on a bench, having apparently given up on the pirate ship hole. Everything okay? He asked. Yeah, just my mom checking in. Maya sat beside him. She asked about you. What did you tell her? That you're complicated. Is that good or bad? With my mom? It's good. She thinks simple people are boring. Ethan smiled. I like your mom already. She'd like you too. She has a weakness for complicated men who make me laugh. Do I make you laugh? Maya looked at him, hair messed up from running his hands through it in frustration. Expensive sweater now wrinkled, looking nothing like the polished CEO she'd met 3 days ago. Yeah, she said softly. You do. Good, because you make me feel like myself for the first time in years. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching other couples navigate the mini golf course. Maya, Ethan said finally, can I ask you something? Sure. Are you scared? About this, I mean. Maya considered lying, but something about the vulnerability in his voice made her choose honesty instead. Terrified, she admitted. Me too. Really? You don't seem scared of anything. I'm scared of a lot of things. I'm scared of failing. I'm scared of becoming like my father, who chose success over everything else. I'm scared of turning into someone I don't recognize. Ethan looked at her. But mostly I'm scared that I'll mess this up and lose something real before I even understand what I have. Maya felt something settle in her chest, a certainty she hadn't expected. "Ethan, yeah, I don't think you're going to mess this up." "How can you be sure?" "Because anyone who's brave enough to admit they're scared is probably brave enough to figure it out." Ethan reached for her hand, threading their fingers together. "Want to get out of here?" "Where to?" "I know a place." 20 minutes later, they were standing in a rooftop garden Maya hadn't even known existed in the middle of downtown San Francisco. The space was lush with plants and flowers, string lights creating a warm glow as the sun set over the bay. "This is incredible," Maya breathed. "How did you find this place?" "I own the building," Ethan said sheepishly. "I come up here sometimes when I need to think." "You own this entire building?" "I bought it when Technova started taking off. Most of it's offices, but I kept the top floor as a private space." Maya walked to the edge of the rooftop, looking out over the city as lights began to twinkle on across the bay. "The view is amazing." Ethan joined her at the railing. "I used to come up here and imagine what it would be like to share this with someone. And I realized I never really wanted to until now." Maya turned to look at him. In the soft light of the string lights, with the city spread out below them, Ethan looked younger, less guarded. "This feels like a movie," she said. "Good movie or bad movie?" "The kind where the audience is rooting for the couple, even though they know it's probably going to be complicated." "I can live with complicated," Ethan said, stepping closer. "Can you?" Instead of answering, Maya rose on her tiptoes and kissed him. It was supposed to be a simple kiss, a test to see if the electric current she felt was real or just her imagination. But the moment their lips touched, Maya knew she was in serious trouble. Because this didn't feel like a first kiss. It felt like coming home. When they broke apart, both of them were breathing hard. "Okay," Maya said shakily. "That was real," Ethan finished. "Very real." "Maya, I have to tell you something." "What?" "I've never felt anything like that before." "Ever?" "Ever. Not with Victoria, not with anyone." Ethan's hands came up to frame her face. "The algorithm was right about us being compatible, but it missed the most important thing." "Which is?" "That compatibility doesn't matter if there's no chemistry. And we have enough chemistry to power the entire city." Maya laughed, feeling giddy and terrified, and more alive than she'd felt in years. "So what happens now?" she asked. "Now we see where this goes. No algorithms, no fake arrangements, no pressure to be anything other than ourselves. Just us figuring it out together? Just us figuring it out together." As Ethan kissed her again, Maya's phone buzzed with another SoulSync notification. This time she ignored it completely. Some things, she was learning, were more important than data. 6 weeks later, Maya was back on the same rooftop, but everything had changed. She and Ethan had spent those weeks learning each other in ways no algorithm could have predicted. She discovered that he made terrible coffee, but excellent pancakes, that he sang off-key in the shower, and that he had a secret addiction to reality TV shows that he analyzed like they were case studies. He'd learned that she talked to plants, that she cried at videos of soldiers coming home to their dogs, and that she was fiercely loyal to the people she loved. They'd had their first real fight about his tendency to try to solve her problems instead of just listening. Their first "I love you," whispered during a midnight conversation about their biggest fears, and their first morning waking up together, awkward and perfect and nothing like either of them had expected. But now Maya stood at the railing, watching Ethan pace nervously behind her, and she could tell something was very wrong. "You're making me nervous," she said without turning around. "Sorry, there's something I need to tell you." Maya turned to face him, noting his unusually formal posture. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. At least I hope not." Ethan took a deep breath. The Soul Sync launch was incredibly successful. I know, congratulations, 2 million downloads in the first week. Part of that success was because of the story about us. The tech CEO who fell in love with his fake girlfriend thanks to his own algorithm. Maya felt a chill. What story? Harrison Phillips was so charmed by our relationship that he shared it with a tech journalist. It became this whole feature article about how artificial intelligence can help people find authentic love. Ethan, what are you saying? I'm saying we've become the poster couple for Soul Sync. Our story is literally part of the marketing campaign. Maya stared at him. Are you serious? I tried to stop it, but the PR team said it was the best organic marketing they'd ever seen. Pre-orders for the premium features increased by 400% after the article came out. Stock prices jumped 30%. So our relationship is now a product? No. Maya, number. Our relationship is real. But the story of how we met has become part of Soul Sync's brand identity. Maya felt something cracking in her chest. So what happens if we break up? Does that hurt your business? Maya, we're not going to break up. But what if we do? What if this doesn't work out? Are you going to be financially motivated to stay with me regardless of how you actually feel? Ethan stepped closer. Maya, you're overthinking this. Am I? Or am I finally seeing clearly? Maya moved away from him. How do I know if you love me or if you love what I represent for your company's success? Because I'm telling you. But how can I trust that? How can I trust my own feelings when there's so much money and publicity tied up in this story? Ethan ran his hands through his hair. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe we moved too fast. Maybe we got caught up in the romance of the algorithm and the fairy tale of it all. You don't mean that. Don't I? Maya felt tears starting. Ethan, 6 weeks ago you hired me to be your fake girlfriend. Now I'm in love with you, and our relationship is being used to sell your app to millions of people. That doesn't feel real. It feels like a really elaborate business plan. Maya, you know that's not true. Do I? Because right now I feel like I don't know anything anymore. They stared at each other across the rooftop garden, the string lights that had seemed so romantic 6 weeks ago now feeling like stage lighting. For a performance Maya was tired of giving. What do you want from me? Ethan asked finally. I want to know that you'd choose me even if it cost you everything. Maya, you're not being fair. Maybe not, but I'm being honest. Maya wiped her eyes. I think I need some space to figure out what's real and what's just a really good story. How much space? I don't know. Ethan nodded slowly. Okay, if that's what you need. It is. Maya? She turned back at the elevator. For what it's worth, I fell in love with you before any of the business stuff happened, and I'll still love you after it's all over. As the elevator doors closed, Maya caught a glimpse of Ethan standing alone on the rooftop where they'd had their first real kiss, looking lost and heartbroken. And for the first time since this all began, she wondered if the algorithm had been wrong about them after all. 3 months later, Maya was working at a small tech startup in Portland, having relocated to get some distance from the San Francisco scene. She'd turned down Ethan's offer to keep the luxury apartment and was back to living in a modest one-bedroom. But it was hers, and that felt important. She'd followed Soul Sync's continued success from afar. The app had become a cultural phenomenon, and Ethan had been featured on the covers of Time, Forbes, and Wired as the CEO who solved love. There had been speculation about what happened to his girlfriend, but Ethan had simply said they were keeping their relationship private. Maya appreciated that he hadn't publicly aired their breakup. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "Turn on Channel 7. Trust me. Right now." Maya grabbed her remote and flipped to the local news station, where a familiar face filled her screen. Ethan was standing at a podium, looking serious and determined, with the Technova logo behind him. "Which is why I'm announcing that Technova will be discontinuing the SoulSync app effective immediately." Maya's coffee mug slipped from her hands, shattering on her hardwood floor. The reporter's voice continued, "In a shocking announcement, Billionaire Tech CEO Ethan Blackwood declared that his revolutionary dating app was ethically problematic and represented an unacceptable commodification of human emotion." The camera cut back to Ethan. "Love isn't data to be analyzed or a problem to be solved by artificial intelligence. Real relationships require vulnerability, uncertainty, and the courage to choose someone without knowing if they'll choose you back. SoulSync promised to eliminate the risk from love, but risk is what makes love meaningful." Maya sank onto her couch, staring at the screen in shock. "Mr. Blackwood," a reporter called out, "this decision will cost your company hundreds of millions of dollars. Some analysts are saying it could bankrupt Technova. Why are you willing to take such a massive financial loss?" Ethan looked directly into the camera, and Maya felt like he was speaking directly to her. "Because I learned that some things are more important than success. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is admit you were wrong and try to make it right." "Is this decision related to your relationship with Maya Chen, the woman featured in your marketing campaign?" "This decision is about recognizing that love can't be reduced to algorithms and compatibility scores. Every real relationship requires two people choosing each other every day, despite uncertainty, despite risk, despite the possibility of getting hurt." Another reporter. "What's next for Technova?" "We're pivoting to focus on technologies that enhance human connection rather than trying to engineer it. Mental health apps, accessibility tools for people with disabilities, platforms that help long-distance families stay connected, technologies that bring people together without claiming to know who they should be with." Maya was crying now, though she wasn't sure why. "And personally," the reporter pressed. Ethan paused, and for a moment he looked less like a CEO and more like the man she'd fallen in love with on a rooftop garden. "Personally, I'm hoping someone I care about very much is watching this and knows that I finally understand the difference between being right and being real." The press conference ended, and Maya sat in stunned silence. Her phone rang immediately. "Jessica." "Holy shit, Maya. Did you see?" "I saw." "He just destroyed his own company for you." "He destroyed his company because it was the right thing to do." "Maya, the man is declaring his love for you on national television." "Is he, though, or is this just another grand gesture?" "Does it matter?" "Maya, he's proving that you matter more to him than his business. Or he's proving that he's good at public relations." "You don't really believe that." Maya closed her eyes. "I don't know what I believe anymore." "Then maybe it's time to find out." That evening, Maya was trying to distract herself with work when someone knocked on her door. She looked through the peephole and nearly fainted. Ethan stood in her hallway, looking nothing like the polished CEO from the press conference. His hair was messy, his clothes wrinkled, and he appeared to have driven through the night to get there. Maya opened the door. "What are you doing here?" "I came to tell you something I should have said 3 months ago." "Ethan." "I was wrong about SoulSync, about trying to engineer love, about thinking I could create a perfect system for something as beautifully chaotic as human emotion." "I saw your press conference." "Then you know I shut down the app." "I know you made a very public gesture that's going to cost you a fortune." Ethan stepped closer. "Maya, it's not a gesture. I shut down SoulSync because I realized that the best thing that ever happened to me wasn't the result of an algorithm. It was the result of you being brave enough to take a chance on something uncertain. Ethan, I love you. Not because some AI told me we were compatible, not because you helped my business, not because our story looked good in press coverage. I love you because you make me laugh at mini golf, because you defend me to people who hurt me, because you're not afraid to call me out when I'm being an idiot. Maya felt her carefully constructed walls beginning to crumble. But mostly, Ethan continued, I love you because loving you taught me that the best parts of life can't be calculated or predicted or engineered. They can only be chosen every day, despite uncertainty. What are you saying? I'm saying I choose you, Maya Chen. Not because an algorithm says we're compatible, not because it makes good business sense, but because I can't imagine my life without you in it. Maya looked at him, really looked at him. He was tired, vulnerable, and had clearly driven all night to get to her. This wasn't a calculated business decision or a public relations move. This was just a man who loved her, standing in her doorway, asking for a second chance. The SoulSync shut down, Maya said finally. How bad is it financially? Pretty devastating. We'll probably have to sell the building, lay off most of the staff, start over completely. And you're okay with that? I'm okay with building something real instead of something profitable. Maya felt the last of her resistance crumble. What if I said yes? What if I said I wanted to try again? Then I'd say that this time we take it slow. This time we figure it out without algorithms or artificial intelligence, or any pressure to be anything other than two people who care about each other. Just us. Just us. Maya smiled through her tears. I love you too, you know. Even when I was scared, even when I convinced myself it wasn't real, I never stopped loving you. Ethan's answering smile was like sunrise. So what do you say? Want to see if we can make this work without artificial intelligence? I thought you'd never ask. As Ethan kissed her in the doorway of her modest Portland apartment, Maya realized that some of the best things in life really couldn't be predicted or calculated. They could only be chosen. And she was choosing Ethan Blackwood, not the successful CEO, not the tech genius, but the man who was brave enough to risk everything for love. 1 year later, Maya stood in the small community center where she and Ethan were about to exchange vows. It wasn't the elaborate wedding the tech blogs had speculated about. It was small, intimate, and completely authentic. Ethan's rebuilt company, Connect, was focused on technologies that enhanced existing relationships rather than creating new ones. It was smaller than Technova had been, but it was doing meaningful work, and Ethan came home every night actually happy about what he'd accomplished. Maya had started her own consulting firm, helping small businesses develop authentic digital marketing strategies. She worked with real people solving real problems, and she'd never been more fulfilled professionally. You ready for this? Jessica asked, adjusting Maya's simple white dress. More ready than I've ever been for anything. No second thoughts about marrying a guy who literally rewrote his entire life for you? Maya smiled. No second thoughts about marrying a guy who figured out the difference between success and happiness. The music started, and Maya walked down the aisle toward Ethan, who was waiting for her with the same expression of wonder he'd worn that first night on the rooftop garden. Hi, she whispered when she reached him. Hi, he whispered back. You look incredible. You clean up pretty nice yourself. The officiant cleared his throat. We're gathered here today to celebrate the marriage of Maya and Ethan. Two people who prove that the best love stories can't be engineered. They can only be lived. As they exchanged rings, Maya caught sight of Sam in the audience, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. After the ceremony, Sam, approached them with a huge grin and her ever-present laptop. "I have a wedding present for you," she announced. "Sam, no," Ethan said quickly. "We agreed. No more algorithms." "This isn't an algorithm," Sam said. "This is just math." She turned the laptop screen toward them, showing a simple calculation. "I ran the numbers on your relationship timeline," Sam explained. "First meeting to wedding, 18 months. Number of major obstacles overcome, 7. Number of times you chose each other despite uncertainty, 247. "You counted?" Maya asked. "I counted every text, every call, every time one of you could have walked away but didn't." Sam pointed to the final number on the screen. "Probability that your marriage will last, 99.97%. "How can you calculate that?" Ethan asked. "Because," Sam grinned, "you've already proven that you choose each other even when it's difficult. That's not artificial intelligence. That's real love." Maya looked at Ethan, then at the number on the screen. 99.97%? "What's the 0.03% margin of error for?" Ethan asked. Sam's grin widened. "Alien invasion." As their friends and family laughed, Maya realized that Sam was right. Love wasn't about finding someone compatible. It was about choosing someone consistently. And she and Ethan had been choosing each other from the very beginning. As they danced to their first song as husband and wife, Ethan whispered in her ear, "Any regrets about falling for a guy who almost destroyed his own company?" "Just one," Maya whispered back. "What's that?" "That it took us so long to figure out that the best algorithm for love is just showing up for each other every day." Ethan smiled and spun her around the dance floor. "I think we figured it out exactly when we were supposed to." And as Maya looked around at their friends and family, at the man she'd chosen and who had chosen her back, she realized that some stories didn't need artificial intelligence to have a happy ending. They just needed two people brave enough to write it together. What did you think of Maya and Ethan's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, how would you rate this story? Subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you don't miss any of our stories. And take a moment to check out more heartfelt stories by clicking right here on the end screen.